afternoon, good evening, good night. So long, farewell. It's time to say whatever. And everybody that might be watching this channel today, tomorrow, next year, the year after, the year before. All that good happy horse mess. Your friendly neighborhood old soldier coming at you from, you guessed it, Robinson County, North Carolina, where I think we're about to get inundated with rain again today. So, who knows, coming home from work today, I may be doing the backstroke. You just never know. So, anyhow, anyways, for you, Brother Kyle. So, last 2 days, I've been talking about the border crisis. I'm going to bring it up again. Part 3, shall we call it? Part 3. Part 3. They say in French, I guess. I don't know. I don't speak it. But anyway. As I elaborated yesterday and the day before, Governor Abbott's got the National Guard currently stringing up razor wire along the southern border in his state, which he has every right and authority to do so, especially when the federal government fails to act. So when the federal government fails to act, he's doing what he has to protect the people of his state. Now, several other states have made the commitment to support Governor Abbott in his endeavors by sending aid and support. And I think I heard a report yesterday that several of these states are actually going to send members of their National Guard. Now, I'm going to take you on a little history lesson here, boys and girls and boys. This goes back to the 60s. When a young lady of color was going to an all-white school, elementary school, if I'm not mistaken. And the governor of a particular state called up his National Guard to prevent that from happening. Well, the then President of the United States, Dwight D. Eisenhower, said, got something for you there, Governor, and turned around and issued a federal order calling that National Guard into active federal service, thus making them answerable to the President of the United States. Now, in that particular situation, the right thing was done. So let's fast forward to where we are right now in 2024 with the impending crisis brooding on the southern border of Texas. The governor has called up his National Guard to secure the border because his state is bearing the brunt of this invasion. Let's call it what it is. That being said, these other states send their National Guard. Well, let me back up. The governor's called up the National Guard to do this. It means they're currently in state service, not active federal service. They're in service to their state. The Supreme Court basically has issued an order that's basically told them they can't do it, but they're doing it anyway. The lying mouthpiece that looks like Sideshow Bob, Cream, Dream, John Pierre, Poopy Head, Ragdoll Face, I don't know. The first openly gay, black, lesbian, black woman of color speaker, press secretary person, blah, 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 toots her own horn every chance she gets because she's worthless and a liar. Anyway. She has spouted off the mouth, telling lies about how the razor wire is dangerous to the Border Patrol and the performance of their duties. Well, one, they're not performing their duties. If all they're doing is taking a list of people's names and giving them a court appearance and then releasing them into the interior, they are negligent and defunct in their duties in the performance thereof. They are failing to uphold and defend this country and the Constitution on which it was founded. Therefore, they are in violation of their oath of office. You can't tell me otherwise, and I don't care if you try. They're in violation of their oath of office. Now, I get it. People have jobs. People are afraid to lose jobs. Got families to support. I wholeheartedly get it. But at what point in time do we stop saying enough's enough? So that brings me to the next point. Well, let's say Biden decides that, yep, I'm going to call these National Guard units to active federal service and then order them to cease, desist, and stand down. What could happen? A lot of things that could happen, boys and girls. They could comply with the orders the Commander-in-Chief appointed over them, as is in their oath of enlistment and oath of office. They could stand up and say no because it's an unlawful order. They could very well do that. They could mutiny. That happens. There's the possibility the president might try to send federal troops to intervene. With this administration, I wouldn't put anything past them. But I say that to say this. Many of these National Guardsmen may, I don't know, I haven't spoken to them, but may believe in what they're doing is right. According to the Constitution, the way I've read it, they are right. The federal government actually has the inherent responsibility to protect our borders. When they fail to do so, then it falls upon the states that border foreign nations. And that goes for California, Oregon, and Washington State because of the Pacific Ocean. Washington State, Montana, North Dakota, Minnesota, Idaho. All these states have a border with Canada. What are you talking about, so? You don't think people don't come through the Canadian border illegally? Oh, it's nowhere near as rampant as the southern border. But there are people that come out of the north into the U.S. I say illegally. A lot of times they come legally and then overextend their stay based on the type of visa that they have. You don't see people trying to leave Canada. Well, I don't know about now. I think you got a lot of Canadians that would love to mass exodus right now if they could afford to do so. Nice turn signal, dipstick. Sheesh. Anyway, Canada's starting to be a hotbed within its own borders with the people versus the government. There are some Canadians advocating for secession and petition to become part of the United States. I don't see it going anywhere, but there are groups in Canada that are considering that. But again, that brings me back, let me just get back on track here, a little bit of a tangent. In the event that the President of the United States were to issue an order federalizing all these National Guard units that are being called up to deal with the border crisis situation, there is a strong possibility a portion of those troops could mutiny. Now, under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, that's a very severe crime, and in some cases can be punishable by death. Just saying. There's a whole host of other charges that could, disobey the lawful order of the commander-in-chief, other, etc. So forth. This is how that's one possibility of how this thing could snowball itself. Why? By design. Another way to ignite to start the catalyst that will lead to a catastrophic incident along the border. And sadly, the people of Texas, the citizenry of Texas, will be the first to suffer. I told you yesterday, too many people have been lulled to the opinion that the continental United States can never be invaded by a foreign power. Love to get a hold of that crack they're smoking, because anything is possible with enough due diligence. Go back to several of my videos where I talked about how the communists are the masters of the long game. Folks, if you don't believe me, go back and look at the history of mainland China. All right? At the end of World War II, during World War II, the nationalists and the communists loosely worked together in China to expel the Japanese. I say loosely because they were still fighting amongst themselves as well. There's a couple of times they basically called a truce and said, hey, let's combine forces and let's push these bastards back into the ocean, back on their little island. Afterwards, they went back blowing each other up, to the point that nationalist China wound up on an island off the coast of mainland China that we know today as Taiwan. China says Taiwan is part of China. Taiwan says we're an independent nation. There's your history lesson on that one. But the communist movement in China started way before World War II. The same thing in the former Soviet Union that we know as Russia. It started before World War I ever broke out. But World War I was the strike to the tender that really pushed the communist movement into full force. And thus we saw the establishment of the United Soviet Socialist Republic. After World War II, they further pushed their ideology into Eastern Europe. Well, the same thing happened in North Korea, Vietnam, Cuba, Venezuela. Oh no, the old soldier Venezuela is just a socialist country. No, when the guy takes over as a dictator, it becomes communist. When he goes in and takes privately owned property and businesses and turns it over to the people to be ruined, that's communism. So that's my point I'm getting at. Now, mind you, the border's got all kinds of people coming across. Chinese males of military age, people from Latin America, Middle Easterners of questionable background and repute, Africans from all over the African continent. The majority, males of military age. Males of military age. And then you pack them up and bust them all over the country. Do a little research and homework on your own about covert operations around the world, where military coups eventually took over nations. Be surprised. Be surprised. He's got the communists got one agenda. But you got radical Muslims got another. Oh no, you can't talk about that, old soldier. We can't talk about Muslims and Islam. The hell we can't. They're another group of people that have mastered the long game. Don't believe me? Go to the Middle East. Go to parts of Eastern Europe that are still Muslim countries today. What? Eastern Europe has Muslim countries? Yes. Go back in history. Do your homework. Turkey, which is the middle ground between Asia and Europe, was at one time a Christian nation until the fall of Constantinople, when the Turks took it over. And it went from being Constantinople to I just drew a blank the other day. I can tell you the name of the city. Istanbul. Gee. Istanbul was once Constantinople, right? And overnight, the whole area went from being Christian to Muslim. That means the Christians that weren't killed, that surrendered, were forced to convert or pay the tax. Islam's goal is to make the world Islam. It's like communist goal is to make the world communist. If those two ever come to a head and fight, who knows how it'll turn out. But anyway, those things you need to go back and study and watch. If I'm wrong, okay, I'm wrong. But don't think I am in this case. Anyway, folks, do your homework, do your own due diligence, stay safe, keep your eyes open, ear to the ground, and head on a swivel. Stock up on guns, ammo, food, medical supplies, and any other thing that you can while you can still get it. Whatever is about to happen, I think is going to happen. The shipment of goods and services are going to be drastically impacted. So keep that in mind. Until I get another one out, y'all stay safe. It's the old soldier out.